Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays collection. I'm your host Mike, and today guys, I'm going to do something I've wanted to do for a long time. Go over my c.fields physical media collection. I have a little bit of Laserdisc, DVDs, and Blu-rays in this collection. Recently Kino has been putting out Blu-rays of some of c.fields' best movies, and I'm hoping they'll stick with it and keep putting out all his early Paramount and Universal movies that he did. Pretty much all his movies are on DVD, pretty much. There might be a few odds and ends, maybe a silent movie here and there that might be missing, but the majority of his work's on video, which is really good. So today I thought I would go over some of the stuff that I have, because I've been collecting c.fields since many years. I remember copying movies. I'll put these somewhere. Copying movies off of Showtime, the Showtime channel back in like 91, 92, and every morning it seemed like they had an older Paramount movie, either be some of Preston Sturges' best movies, c.fields, a bunch of really cool screwball comedies and stuff, Billy Wilder movies, a lot of cool stuff Showtime was playing, and I would copy them. I was a teenager, and it was really cool. So that's how far back I go collecting his movies and stuff. And even then I didn't have but maybe a couple handful of movies. But anyways guys, let's get right to it. Let me start with the DVDs that had DVD sets that have previously been on video. And there was a couple of collections that came out in the early 2000s. There was two really nice box sets that came out, and it was only an example of c.fields movies. They didn't put them all out at that time, but they came out with these really two nice box sets. And recently I got the other set. I got the first one, and then I never did end up getting the second one for some reason. I'll tell you more about that in a minute and why I didn't do that. But here's the first one that I got. This came out 2004, actually. Okay, this is the c.fields Comedy Collection Volume 1. Pretty cool set. I mean, this is a really nice box. It's got like a slide out box. It's housed in this hard case. And then you have a lot of artwork on here too, by the way. It's really cool. It opens up where you got a lot of the original poster work, and then you got the movies like so. And at the time Universal did some other collections like this. They did a Marx Brothers collection that was done in a silver case, and they did a whole line of the Universal monster sets at that time, which were really cool. They were in the green packaging with like a little slide out, had a little, what do you call that, little like a changing face decal thing. But those all came out of each one of the big monster movies, like so Frankenstein, and then all the sequels of Frankenstein that Universal did, and so on. But yeah, this was one of the things they did. This was the first one. The first one's got some of his biggest movies, popular ones, The Bank Dick, My Little Chickadee, It's a Gift, You Can't Cheat an Honest Man, and International House. So right there you had some of his biggest, funniest movies, and everything. And The Bank Dick and My Little Chickadee was done for Universal Pictures, which that's how he finished off his career at Universal, did a few movies. And then around the same time, or actually this was a couple years later, Volume 2 came out, and it's the same thing, except this time we got a blue case Really nice. And I just recently got this. I guess I was, being the collector I am, I wanted to get the other one to go with its mate. And again, you got the same stuff open up. You got the posters, the discs. It's got a short description of the movie. It's got a vintage documentary on here. And the movies on this one, we got You're Telling Me, The Old-Fashioned Way, Man on a Flying Trapeze, Poppy, and Never Give a Sucker an Even Break. The big standout on this set is the highly underrated Man on a Flying Trapeze from 1935. One of his funniest movies that doesn't get mentioned a lot. And I've watched it here a lot recently because it came out on Blu-ray, but I'll get right to that. But see, I didn't get this right away, guys, because this other set came out somewhere in between there. Maybe there was a couple years gap or something. This says 2013. I guess I just never got it for some reason. But anyways, this set came out. This is kind of an economy pack from Universal with a slipcase, 10 classic films. Basically all the movies that were on the Volume 1 and Volume 2 set was repeated here. It's all the same movies. Everyone, even the documentary by Wayne and Schuster on here. This came out in 2013. It's kind of an economy pack, to get those. So at that point, I was like, okay, I got all his movies that they put out from that other set, and I didn't think about it. I didn't get it for a while. And then later on, this was a little bit down the road, 2015. This one came out, c.fields Comedy Essential Collection, and this has 18 classics on here. So you got everything that was in the other 3 sets, plus a bunch of extra. So you basically got all the W.C. Fields movies at Paramount and Universal all in one set. Plus you got the Wayne and Schuster documentary again. It starts off with $1 Million Legs and ends with Never Give a Sucker an Even Break in 1941, which would basically be his last starring movie. He did a couple movies after that where he just kind of made a brief appearance in it. Like there was some wartime movies that were done kind of for the troops overseas, kind of like get people guest starring, putting on a show type of thing. And I think he did some of his classic comedy routines and stuff. But yeah, after this, I was pretty satisfied having all his movies and stuff for a while. And this is still a set I come back to watch his movies. So, and I believe it's still available. And then these are a couple of oddballs that I got somewhere in between all of that. This is a TCM Turner Classic Movies release of $1 Million Legs, the movie with W.C. Fields and Jack Oakey. Now, at the time when I got this, I hadn't got the 18 Classic set yet, because that's on there. But I thought this was still cool. This was actually a single release from a multi-pack release that TCM put out that put a bunch of stuff that was not on video, rare movies, lost and found, or something like that it was called. And this was one of the standouts from that set. I didn't want to get that whole set because not everything was that appealing to me. But $1 Million Legs was really cool, so I got that. And then here's another one from the Warner Brothers archive. He did a couple, I think he did one movie. I might be wrong, maybe 2, but he did one. This was before he started at Paramount. This was for this would be for First National, which Warner Brothers became First National, or they bought out First National, which is basically Warner Brothers. This is a movie called Her Majesty Love, which is a kind of a curiosity. It's one of those older, early talkies and stuff, and it really didn't. This isn't any indication of what his future movies would be like. He's basically playing second fiddle to his daughter in the movie, which is played by Marilyn Miller. It also stars Ben Lyon. It's got comedian Leon Errol and Chester Conklin make small appearances in it, but it's very, very small. Not, he's got his scenes, but it's mostly got this love story of the daughter and everything. So it's still a curiosity. It's not one I go back to a lot, but it was a rare movie that I had read in a W.C. Fields book that I got way back when I was a young teenager, just getting into old movies and classic movies, and it had all of W.C. Fields movies on there. And I bet you I read that book cover to cover about 100 times after I got it. And this was one of the rare movies that they kind of showed on there. And it was always kind of a mystery to me, because it was like, what is that movie? So they finally put it out on the archive, and I got it, which is interesting. So, but there you go. Her Majesty Love, a very, very odd movie in W.C. Fields' collection. Or actually, guys, I got a couple more up here. I forgot about these. Let's see. Almost forgot those, guys. So let's see, this is Kino put these out before. This is probably about 5 years or so before these new Kinos they put out. They put out two of W.C. Fields' best silent movies. He did a handful of silent movies in the mid to late 20s. He worked with a couple of them. He worked with D.W. Griffith, actually. But a lot of them were just, a silent routine of some of the stuff he did in vaudeville and everything. So the first one, I actually saw this. Paramount released this on VHS back in the late 80s. And I had made a dub of it back when, back in my early classic movie days. I made a copy of it, and that was the only thing that existed on home video of this movie. It wasn't even on Laserdisc. It was just on VHS. So they finally released Running Wild on Blu-ray, and pretty interesting movie. It's pretty funny. It's kind of a movie where he's kind of the browbeaten husband, and then at some point, he turns the tables on everyone, and he becomes his own man. And it's one of those funny, movies where it's kind of like he's beat down, and you see him rise up and stuff. Kind of a typical storyline that you would see run through a lot of W.C. Fields movies, as the browbeaten husband. He's not in control of his home. Usually he just has the sympathy of his daughter in most of his movies and stuff. But yeah, 1927. This has a audio commentary. It's got a new piano score, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's only 67 minutes, so it's really breezy. So yeah, there you go, Running Wild. And then the other one, pretty cool. Now this one, I was wanting to see I'm trying to see if this is the one that D.W. Griffith directed. Let me see here. No, I guess this was Edward Sutherland, and it actually co-stars Miss Helmet Hair herself, Louise Brooks. This is it's the old Army Game, and it's got Louise Brooks. Actually, the director and Louise Brooks married around this time. I think he directed her in some movies, and they actually got married briefly. But again, this is pretty cool. Similar to the other one, it's got a new commentary, and it's got a new piano score for this. So this was a brand new, I had never seen this movie when this came out on video, so that was pretty exciting. But yeah, it's black and white, and it's got some color tinting's been restored. This one's from 1926. It's the old Army Game, which was pretty cool. And those prints look really good. And Kino went back and restored them and everything. Okay, guys, so let's get right now to the current Blu-rays that's been coming out by Kino, probably for the last 6 to 8 months or so, something like that. They release like 2 or 3 at a time when they come out, and these are in no particular order. I'll just start showing them off, but this one is probably hands down my favorite W.C. Fields movie, and I think a lot of people would agree that it's probably essentially the best W.C. Fields movie. I mean, there's a couple of them that they're neck and neck, and I can't even really say, but man, I love this movie. It's so funny. It's a Gift. This is from 1934. It's got the little baby in it. He was famous for a hot minute, baby Bluray, and this time he's paired again with Kathleen Howard as his wife. She would show up a bunch of times as his wife, and but yeah, this is directed by Norman McLeod. And it's a classic. I mean, if I had to recommend one movie that you've never seen W.C. Fields, I would definitely recommend It's a Gift to start with. Next up, this would be technically his last movie that he starred in 1941. This is Never Give a Sucker an Even Break. This is a really funny movie. It's very absurd, very... it's just completely bananas. It doesn't really have a coherent storyline. It's not even meant to. I mean, it's just completely zany and off the wall, and it really had no limits. He was able to just be him, and it's really cool. It's W.C. Fields is writing a script for a movie studio, and they're trying to make this script, and it's a lot of in-movie stuff, and it's really hilarious. This has got a new audio commentary by Eddie Moeller, and then it's got that Wayne and Schuster documentary on here, which it repeats on a bunch of these releases, the same documentaries on there. But there you go, Never Give a Sucker an Even Break. Really, really funny. I would probably put it in my top 5 for sure of my favorites. Next up, this is where he's got paired up with Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy, the puppet. Edgar Bergen was really popular, and Charlie McCarthy on the radio. W.C. Fields would do a lot of radio work and stuff, and he had a kind of a running feud with Charlie McCarthy, the puppet, and everything. And he was really popular. He was very popular. But I think in this movie, it kind of slows down the movie, because they got the scenes of them, giving them their scenes, and then you got W.C. Fields, and then you got the love story, and you got the circus backstory. So I think some of it was too much. So W.C. Fields kind of takes a back seat, but his scenes are hilarious when he's on screen. This is You Can't Cheat an Honest Man, and this is one of the newest ones that just came out. They just released. But yeah, there you go. I'm not saying it's not funny or anything, but I think they could have cut maybe Charlie McCarthy and Edgar Bergen out of the picture all together and just gave them their own movie. Would have been probably the better ideal. But otherwise, it's really funny. It's directed by George Marshall. Let's see, I think the next year, or this same year, he would make Destry Rides Again and have a big hit with that. Next up is a movie from 1934. He did like 4 movies in 1934. Directed by William Bodine. This is The Old-Fashioned Way. And this one also has Baby Leroy in it. And this is really cool. This is the movie he plays the Great McGonagall. And he's kind of a traveling theatrical troupe that they're constantly running out of hotels before, so they don't have to pay their bills. They have no money. All the cast members are constantly hounding him for money because he doesn't pay anybody. And he comes back to this town where there's a rich society woman who wants to sing and act and be in his play. So he kind of cons her into giving money over to put this play on in town, if put her in there. And it's really funny how he avoids her and everything. And it's a lot of good scenes. It's really funny. There's some good scenes with Baby Leroy and him at the dinner table. Great movie though. Again, this one's got a James Nebor audio commentary. So there you go, the old-fashioned way. Next up, this is another movie from 1934. It's a Gift was from 34 also. This is You're Telling Me. This is a really good movie. It's got a great heart in it. He's basically an inventor. He's had his big invention was a tire that can't be punctured. Okay, a tire that can't go flat. And there's a really funny scene in it where he's at the office in the big city, and he brings all the guys down. He's showing off his invention. He wants the company to buy it. So he's going to prove to them that these tires can't be flattened. So he pulls out a gun, which is really funny, and he starts shooting the tires. But he didn't know this, but at the time, he parked in a no parking zone. So they towed his car away, and a police car had pulled up in its place. So he came down there and he shot the police car's tires out, and insanity ensues after that point. But it's really funny. He's down and out. His wife, his family has pretty much disowned him. He's thinking about killing himself. He's taking a train on his way home. He's taking the train, and he ends up meeting this princess from some other country that she just happens to be on there. She has a heart of gold, and he doesn't even realize that she's a princess and stuff, and she feels sorry for him and wants to help him out, and basically comes home with him, and he's basically the man of town. He went from being a nobody to the king of the town for a day, and so everything works out in the end. That doesn't really explain much to you guys, but it's hilarious. And only a W.C. Fields way, because W.C. Fields doesn't stick to the basic storylines and everything. I mean, a lot of times there's a love story between the daughter and a beau, but that's about it. The rest of the time, it's just all this craziness going on. You're Telling Me, really good. It's not wall-to-wall laughs, but the laughs that are there are really, really good. So I really like that. Next up, this is one of his most famous movies that he's remembered for, where he teamed up with Mae West. This was from 1940, directed by Edward Klein. This is My Little Chickadee. And basically at this point in their careers, both of them were kind of on the outs. Mae West had been labeled box office poison because her last 3 or 4 pictures bombed, and this was kind of her way of, she used to be at Paramount too, and now they're both at Universal. And I think the last couple of things from W.C. Fields had kind of not done so well, so they, teaming them up would be the ideal and stuff. But they both kind of didn't get along with the studio at that time, and there's a bunch of stories about stuff that took place on there. If you get a chance out there and you pick up the Mae West box set from Indicator, it's got a great booklet that comes with it, and has a lot of story interviews with Mae West talking about what was going on at the time on the set of making this, and it was really good. A lot of stuff I did not know, but a very, very good booklet with the Indicator Mae West set. Definitely get that. But yeah, My Little Chickadee, what can I say? Great classic movie. It's got a lot of good scenes in it and stuff. I kind of wish that The Bank Dick or It's a Gift was as known and as famous as that one is, because a lot of times, you see the posters and different stuff. It's on TV a lot. Anyways, guys, back to 1935's The Man on the Flying Trapeze. Like I said earlier, one of his most underrated, hilarious movies that he's ever made. He teamed his best wife actress that he used in his movies was Kathleen Howard. She did really good, and she's in this one. This is directed by Clyde Bruckman, who worked with Buster Keaton on one of his most famous movies, The General. And this is a great story. It's got the stepson in the movie is played by Grady Sutton, and he turns up in 2 or 3 W.C. Fields movies, and he's hilarious as kind of a bumpkin guy, kind of a I don't know what you would call him exactly, but very funny. And another thing about W.C. Fields movies is a lot of times he worked on the scripts, but when you see the titles come on, he's always got made up names for himself. Like, this one he's Charles Bogle and stuff. He comes up with these crazy names and stuff. But yeah, there you go. Man on the Flying Trapeze, hilarious movie. Definitely got to get that one. And finally, guys, again, this is another one of his bona fide classics, comedy classic. Funny movie. You can just watch this over and over again. It's just zany, crazy. It's almost, you can't even explain the movie. You almost have to see it to believe it. It is so funny. But this is The Bank Dick. This is from 1940. He's at Universal. This is directed by Edward Klein again. This time his name on the script is Mahatma Cain Jeeves. He just comes up with these crazy names. But very funny movie. A bank dick, he's basically a detective or a cop at a bank. He gets a job, and there's a bunch of stuff going on in the movie. There's a bunch of stuff. Grady Sutton is back in this one as his, I think it's his son-in-law. Or he's wanting to marry his daughter. His daughter, I think, is played by Una Merkel, and she's hilarious. Now, she was in Destry Rides Again. You may recognize her from that. But yeah, it's got a lot of, and a few of these movies. One of the big things is all these actors, the supporting cast that turns up in all his movies are just hilarious. And this has Franklin Pangborn, who was in a bunch of his movies, I think starting with International House. And he plays a bank examiner coming to look at the books of the bank, and he's trying not to get him to look at it because of something. And it's too hard to explain these plots. They're too way out to even explain. So you just got to check this out. The Bank Dick is one of the most funniest movies ever made, in my opinion. Just hilarious. And there's even a Criterion Collection DVD release of it. Matter of fact, I never got that. But anyways, so guys, let's close out this episode. I got some laser discs that I've collected over the years. This is the laser disc of It's a Gift. I've always liked the artwork on this. I like the blue trim and stuff, and it looked different than the other laser discs that came out. But yeah, there you go. It's got kind of a faded picture of the family with It's a Gift. Hilarious movie, just funny. And this is a really good documentary made about W.C. Fields. Let's see here. It's directed by Joe Adamson, who did a really good documentary on the Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers in a nutshell. He's also wrote a lot of books on the Marx Brothers. He's kind of an expert on the Marx Brothers, but he also, knows a little bit about a lot of things. And W.C. Fields is another one of his subjects, and this was a really good documentary. This is an hour and 40 minutes. It's narrated by Dudley Moore. I believe it came out in '86, and I think it premiered on PBS or something like that. But it's W.C. Fields Straight Up. And this is the only copy I have of this. I need to try to find it on DVD. And that would be a really good bonus feature on one of these Blu-rays, would be this documentary, because this is really good. But yeah, W.C. Fields Straight Up, really good documentary. It's basically kind of sketches on his whole career, from vaudeville, all his, you know, he was an expert juggler, he was an expert pool player, he did all this stuff, you know, his huge vaudeville career, and then his early silents, and then his talkies, and then the end, and then it's got a little bit of everything in between. Really good documentary. Okay, this is the MCA Universal release of Never Give a Sucker an Even Break. Pretty interesting artwork there. Funny movie. Okay, this is a Laserdisc of the Bank Dick we just talked about. Really cool. And let's see, I think this is the last one. Yeah, this is a Voyager / Criterion Collection release of 6 W.C. Fields shorts. Now, in the very early 30s, between 1930 and like 32 or 31, somewhere in there, he made 6 short films, or he made 4 short films for Max Sennett. And some of those are really famous. There's 2 other shorts on here that are silent shorts from like as far back as 1915, so they're really old. But his famous ones that he did with Max Sennett are like the dentist, the pharmacist, the fatal glass of beer, and the one from 1915 is called Pool Sharks, which he basically replicates his pool game, the tricks and stuff he does that he did on vaudeville. It's basically a complete representation of what he did on Broadway. But yeah, this is a really cool Laserdisc. This has actually been released on DVD in the early 2000s by Criterion also, which is basically the same artwork and everything. And it kind of stays up there in price on the used market, anywhere from $25 up. So I've been trying to find one that's economical to add to my collection. But since I already have it on Laserdisc, I'm kind of satisfied right now with those. But yeah, the pretty interesting little bit of time on his timeline. This would be right after silent films, but right before he would get famous at Paramount and become the W.C. Fields that everyone knows. Because he wasn't quite the W.C. Fields. He was a little bit of both, but you know, it kind of showed where he was headed. Because once he went to Paramount, of course he did Her Majesty Love in 1931 at First National / Warner Brothers. He would move on to Paramount and do the classics that we all love and stuff. So there you go, guys. There's just a little bit of my W.C. Fields collection. I don't have everything that's been released. I don't have anything on VHS. Because back in the day, man, I had them all dubbed. I had them all copied on VHS from off the TV, and I watched those for a long time. And I think the very first physical media that I got of W.C. Fields, I think, was the Bank Dick on Laserdisc. And then after that, you know, there you go. But yeah, I really recommend those new Blu-rays that Kino's been putting out. Let's see, what are we up to? We got about 8. They've released about 8 of his movies on Blu-ray. Not including the 2 silent ones that they put out some years back. But so far we're up to 8, and I'm hoping they'll put out some more and everything. So keep them coming. I'm glad, I'm thankful that they're putting them out. Kino's one of our best labels. It's probably one of the best U.S. labels for physical media. I mean, they're the best. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope I didn't talk too much. Hope I didn't bore you or turn you off into discovering W.C. Fields if you haven't discovered them. So just do some research on them. It's a Gift, the Bank Dick, Running Wild, of course, My Little Chickadee. Those are all great places to start with W.C. Fields and go from there. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Comment on what you think about W.C. Fields. Any questions or anything, let me know. And the other thing is, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so that you're notified when I release new videos. And check out my past videos. I got a bunch of videos on all sorts of different genres of movies and everything. So thank you for watching again. And until next time, guys, arrivederci, sayonara, and all that good stuff. See you later, guys.